like to ask each of you what it is you value so highly that you are willing to fight and possibly die for.
It is my conviction that holding this fort is the key to defending our colonies. As goes the Alamo, so goes Texas.
When I return, we'll get a home of our own. I promise.
Davy Crockett, the Lion of the West.
If Santana and his bunch drops by, we'll lick them like fine salt.
In the fight for Texas, they were a few hundred men who were inexperienced at war.
If it was just me, simple old David from Tennessee, I might drop over that wall and take my chances. But that Davy Crockett fella, they're all watching him.
They faced thousands of Mexican soldiers from one of the greatest armies ever assembled.
You live 5 more years, you just might be a great man.
I think I will probably have to settle for what I am now.
If you wish to stay here, in the Alamo, we will show the world what patriots are made of.
Viva Fontana!
You will remember this battle. Remember each minute, each second, till the day that you die. That is for tomorrow, gentlemen. For today, remember the Alamo.
The Alamo is an action, drama, history, war, western movie that was released on April 9th, 2004. This is another movie about the Alamo, but this time it stars Dennis Quaid and Billy Bob Thornton. Let's see if it's good by starting with the story. The story is, of course, a telling of the 1836 standoff between the American Texans and Santa Anna's Mexican army, but a little bit different than the 1960 version with John Wayne. But is it a good telling of it? Well, I think it is, all things considered. I think the best way to analyze this take on the Alamo is to go over the portrayals of the key figures in it. As for Davy Crockett, while he does not have the poetic way of speaking of in the 1960 version, he does have some eccentric dialogue, at least in the beginning, which really does help a fucking lot. But for some reason, it kind of dies down as the movie goes on, which is pretty fucking disappointing. Although what is kept consistent is that he always carries around his fiddle, which is a pretty fucking nice touch. And even plays into the last shot of the movie, or last few shots. Now, for Jim Bowie, he's kind of a drunk, and who is again pretty eccentric in the beginning. But one thing I did not care for is the part when he tried to make a truce with Santa Anna. I mean, Santa Anna fucking executed a bunch of Texan rebels, and it is made pretty clear that he is the bad guy in this movie. It's funny how everyone wanted Jim Bowie as their commanding officer when he ends up doing that, and after that, he becomes sick and unable to command anyway. I guess those men had no hindsight whatsoever. Now, Davy Crockett tried to have Santa Anna surrender at the end of the movie, but the difference is that Davy kind of knew that he wasn't going to. And I would interpret that he just did it because of the slim chance that he would. But I do think what Jim Bowie says to William Travis is interesting. He says, sometimes it's the way you say things. In context, Jim and Travis were getting on good terms with each other in a pretty fucking well-written scene. Speaking of William Travis, he oddly enough steals the show for me. Second only to Sam Houston, but I'll save him for last. Travis is the only one of the people fighting in the Alamo, in this movie at least, who is fully committed to the cause of getting Texas. While he does have a bit of a by-the-book mentality, which did get a little fucking annoying, it did seem to go away as the movie went on. But I can't talk about Travis without talking about the speech he makes when he has to make the news that supply might not be coming. This speech is ultimately really fucking good. He does not necessarily hide the fact that they will be at a bit of a disadvantage, but he also encourages the men to do what they really want to do. But the most fascinating part about the speech is when he talks about what Texas is about. He decides to make Texas about every man's dreams. Every man lives and dies by his dreams, but their dreams will continue to thrive even after they die. I never expected this movie of all things to take this fucking powerful philosophy, but it did, and I could not be happier that it did. Now for Sam Houston. His role becomes more important by the end, but his presence is definitely felt throughout the movie. Sam keeps retreating his soldiers every time Santa Anna gets closer. Everyone tells him he should just go and attack Santa Anna's army. But the reason he gives for retreating is actually very fucking fascinating. He directly compares the war that he's fighting with a war that Napoleon Bonaparte was fighting. He is basically waiting for his opponent to make some kind of error, and when he makes that error, they will strike. Fascinating. It's also worth noting that this movie has a much more satisfying ending than the 1960s version. It actually shows the Americans getting victory over the Mexicans, and even the text that describes the subsequent events is not doom and gloom, depending on if you're rooting for the US, that is, despite the music being sort of dark. At one point, you even hear the war cry, "Remember the Alamo!" That is a very fucking nice touch. And it is all capped off with a shot of Davy, presumably a ghost, playing his fiddle at the empty Alamo. Now, the action scenes are really fucking good. It has a pretty stellar depiction of the battles that unfold. There are a lot of goddamn muskets and cannons fired, and a few explosions here and there. There's this really goddamn good shot that is put into the point of view of a cannon shot from the Mexicans, as it is fired all the way toward the Alamo area. As a bonus, it doesn't actually explode, so the Americans decide to reuse that ball for their own. Fucking genius. The production values are pretty decent. The cinematography, editing, sound, and art direction are pretty good. The music is not that great, to be really honest. It's not that memorable, and sometimes it's kind of hard to tell what tone it is trying to convey. I guess it gets better in the end credits, but overall, yeah, it's not that good. But overall, in other words, despite that, the Alamo, the 2004 version, is a pretty good tribute to the men who risked their lives to stand up against the Mexican sons of bitches that were going to take their freedom. It is nice to see some of the other names of the Alamo get their chance to shine. And it has really good battle sequences and production values. There may have been one or two scenes that I might have edited out, but still, overall, it is a solid depiction that will make you remember the Alamo. I give the Alamo, the 2004 version, 4 out of 5 stars with the title of Awesome. Anyway, I'm Spike Robot. If you like this video, you can subscribe to my channel. And see you next time. Support our troops.